Hey everyone, welcome to the human side of hospitals. I'm so glad you are here. And now on this channel, we don't just talk about medicine, we listen to real people, to patients, to doctors, nurses, caregivers, anyone who has an unforgettable hospital experience. The hospitals can be places of healing, hope, sometimes even heartbreak, and every story has something to teach us. That is why I'm starting this, just to give people a space to share, to be heard, and to remind us that behind every hospital wall are human beings with stories worth telling. Now, here's where you come in. So, if you've ever been a patient, if you've worked in a hospital, or if you've supported a loved one through their hospital journey, I would love to hear from you. And you can send me a short video, audio, just write your story down. Or if you would like to sit and chat with me, you can join me live on Zoom. And all you have to do is just fill the form in the description below, or you can send me an email. And it doesn't matter where you are from, who you are, or whatsoever. You are welcome wherever part of the world you come from. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell. Basically, not to miss these incredible voices from around the world. And a quick disclaimer before we start: these stories, their personal stories, shared with full consent, and we are here just to inspire, educate, and raise awareness. One thing is those who want to remain anonymous, well, for the sake of confidentiality and privacy, altered some of their voices into AI voices. And note that even the advice shared in these videos or in these experiences, they are not a substitute for medical advice. Always remember this. And if you have health concerns, always speak to a qualified healthcare professional. All right, let's dive into today's story.
My name is Ryan Mitchell. For close to 15 years, I worked as a certified EMT paramedic with Albuquerque Ambulance Service in New Mexico. I carried a national registry certification, advanced cardiac life support credentials, and I trained new hires on airway management and trauma response. Emergency medicine wasn't just a job for me. It was my identity, the thing that gave my life structure and meaning. At least it was, until I turned in my resignation last month. I didn't quit because of burnout, though I'd seen plenty of colleagues flame out after too many double shifts. I didn't leave because of family or health issues or some administrative dispute. No, what drove me out was something far stranger, something I still hesitate to talk about. In my career, I thought I'd seen it all. Car wrecks on Interstate 40, gunshot wounds on Central Avenue, fentanyl overdoses in motel rooms, elderly patients coding in nursing homes. I'd cut babies out of wrecked sedans, shocked teenagers back from lifelessness, and held the hands of people taking their last breaths. If there was one thing you could say about me, it was that nothing surprised me anymore. But I was wrong. What I'm about to share is the one call that broke that confidence. The case that convinced me reality itself isn't as stable as we like to believe. Albuquerque Ambulance Service is the largest EMS provider in the state. Our main station sits off Edith Boulevard, NE. A squat, square building with 7 bays, fluorescent lighting that never turns off, and a constant hum of radio chatter. My unit, Medic 41, was a 2019 Ford F-450 ambulance fitted with a Horton box. It carried everything from intravenous dopamine to King Airways, plus a LifePak 15 monitor defibrillator. My regular partner was Thomas Green. He'd been in the field about a decade, a steady guy with a dry wit who could run a code half asleep. He was one of those partners you barely had to speak to on scene. You'd just glance and know what the other was doing. It was Thursday, October 27th, 2022. A cool night, desert winds pushing dust across the streets. We'd been sipping coffee in the bay, swapping old stories, when dispatch broke the calm. Medic 41, respond priority 1. Unconscious female, unknown breathing status, 3127 Marble Avenue Northeast. Caller reports female in her 20s, not responsive. No further information. Timeout 214. Thomas flicked on the lights and siren, and I pulled up the call details on the tablet. No history, no medications, no allergies listed. Probably an overdose, I said, half to myself. We made it to Marble Avenue in 5 minutes flat. The house was a one-story stucco with a faded teal porch light. A middle-aged woman stood on the step, waving frantically. "That's gotta be family," Thomas muttered as we jumped out. Inside, the living room smelled faintly of mildew and incense. A young woman, mid-20s, Hispanic, black hair, lay on the worn carpet in a gray hoodie and leggings. Her chest barely moved, breath shallow and erratic. I dropped beside her. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" No response. I tilted her head back, swept the airway, clear. Her pulse was rapid but weak, maybe 140. Her pupils blown wide, unreactive. "Let's bag her," I said. Thomas set up the BVM while I attached the monitor. The screen lit up with a wide, complex ventricular tachycardia. Dangerous, unstable. "Here we go," Thomas said grimly. We delivered a 200-joule shock. Her body arched, then slumped. Rhythm barely flickered, still VTAC. We cycled through the ACLS algorithm. Amiodarone, EPI, shocks. Nothing. It was like her heart was ignoring every intervention. And then, at 2:26, everything went sideways. Her eyes snapped open. Not a sluggish flutter, not a twitch. They shot open, pupils huge, black, locked on mine. Her chest expanded with a deep, unnatural inhale, ribs audibly creaking. And then she made a sound. Not words, not a groan. A low, resonant vibration, like the hum of an industrial generator. But it came from her throat, from her body, filling the entire room. Thomas actually staggered back. Jesus Christ, I froze. BVM still in my hands. On the monitor, still VTAC. No palpable pulse. By every clinical standard, this woman was pulseless, dying. But she was looking right at me, breathing, and making a sound no human airway should ever produce. And that was only the beginning. I froze, staring back at her. The BVM clutched in my hands. Her eyes didn't blink. They were blown wide, black from edge to edge, and locked on mine with an intensity that made my chest tighten. The sound spilling out of her chest wasn't speech. It wasn't a groan. It was lower than a human voice should reach, vibrating the very air around us like a subwoofer pressed against the walls. I glanced at the monitor. Still wide, complex VTAC. Heart rate 168. No palpable carotid pulse. That was impossible. "Ryan," Thomas muttered, his voice shaking. "She's looking at you, man. But she's dead. She's flat out dead." "Keep bagging," I snapped. Though the truth was, my hands weren't moving. The bag valve mask dangled useless in my grip. I forced myself back into motion, squeezing, watching her chest rise. But it didn't look right. The expansion was too slow, too controlled, like she was cooperating with the ventilation instead of receiving it. At 2:28, her right hand twitched. Just the fingers at first, then slowly the whole arm lifted from the carpet. Not jerky, not posturing, not seizure activity. Smooth, deliberate. I swallowed hard. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" "Squeeze my hand if you can hear me." Her eyes never left mine, but her hand didn't squeeze. Instead, she lifted her arm all the way, pointing a trembling finger toward the hallway behind me. "I swear to you." Her gaze shifted past me, not at me anymore, but through me, toward the dark hallway. Thomas's voice broke. "Ryan, this isn't right. Let's load and go." Now he was right. We were wasting time. If this was some bizarre seizure variant or post-cardiac neuro event, the only hope was rapid transport to UNM Hospital, 10 blocks away. We hauled her onto the gurney. Her body was limp, unresisting, except her eyes stayed locked open the whole time. That sound never stopped, a droning resonance that seemed to hum in my bones. We loaded her into the rig. I climbed into the back, Thomas driving. Sirens wailed as we tore down Marble Avenue. Inside, I tried again. Another round of episode. Another shock at 300 joules. The life pack barked out, "Shock delivered. Continue CPR." But here's the thing. The monitor never lost the VTAC. Not for a second. No post-shock asystole, no organized rhythm. Just continuous, unbroken, wide complex tachycardia that ignored every intervention. And still she breathed, on her own. The BVM was unnecessary. She lay there on the cot, chest rising and falling in deep, unnatural rhythms. Pupils fixed, gaze glassy. Then, 2:34 a.m., the sound stopped. The silence was worse. Her mouth closed, her chest slowed. For a moment, I thought she was finally coding, that maybe this was the crash after the bizarre neurostorm. But then, in a clear, calm voice, she spoke. "Don't go back there." I froze, my scalp prickled with sweat. "What?" I whispered. Her lips moved again, exactly deliberately. "Don't go back there." The monitor kept screaming VTAC at 168. The printer spit out a strip confirming it. 023417, lead 2, monomorphic ventricular tachycardia, no discernible P waves, QRS widened to 0.20. No human in that rhythm could speak. No human in that rhythm could breathe unaided. I grabbed my radio. "Medic 41 to base. We've got an unstable VTAC with pulses. Patient speaking. Requesting physician patch." There was static, then dispatch. "Medic 41. Repeat." "Did you say speaking?" Before I could answer, the rig lurched hard. I almost lost my footing. From the driver's seat, Thomas shouted, "Ryan, look at this!" I stumbled forward, bracing myself on the cot. Through the windshield, I could see the street, except there shouldn't have been one. We were still on Marble Avenue, but every house we passed was wrong. The stucco walls looked warped, stretched upward, windows black like empty sockets. Every porch light we passed flickered in the exact same rhythm, like synchronized strobes. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes. "Thomas, stay focused." "Just drive," he shouted back. "I'm telling you, this ain't Marble anymore." In the back, the patient lifted her head, her neck arched at an impossible angle, vertebrae popping audibly. Her eyes never blinked. She whispered again, softer this time. "Don't go back there." I felt cold sweat trickle down my spine. My training told me to assess, treat, document. But there was no protocol for this. No line in the ACLS algorithm that read, "If patient defies laws of physiology, consult metaphysics." At 2:36, the monitor alarm changed. Not because of rhythm, it was still VTAC, but the machine itself started to fail. The waveform glitched, lines smearing across the screen like corrupted data. The numbers blurred, rearranged into symbols I'd never seen on a life pack before. And then the screen went black. The printer spat one final strip, a solid black rectangle, no rhythm at all. I stared at it, my hands shaking. I've run thousands of calls in my career. Never once have I seen a monitor fail like that. Never. "Ryan," Thomas yelled, "we're here. We're at UNM." I looked up. Through the windshield, the warped houses had vanished. We were pulling into the ambulance bay of University of New Mexico Hospital, just like always. We swung into the bay, brakes squealing. Doors flew open. Nurses and residents rushed out, pulling the cot. The patient lay still now, eyes closed, body limp. The droning sound was gone, but when I checked the monitor as we wheeled her inside, it was back to normal. Sinus tachycardia, 110, stable, like none of it had ever happened. We barreled into the trauma bay at 2:38, pushing the cot through the double doors into the bright, sterile light of UNM Hospital's emergency department. The attending physician on duty that night was Dr. Emily Carter, a sharp ER doc with 10 years under her belt. 2 residents and 3 nurses flanked her as we rattled off our report. Female, approximately 27 years old, found unresponsive at home, I said, my voice shaky but trying to sound clinical. Initial rhythm, ventricular tachycardia, pulseless, multiple shocks, amiodarone, epi, no rhythm change. At 2:34, patient began spontaneous respirations and speaking, despite persistent VTAC on monitor. On arrival, rhythm converted to sinus tachy, rate 110, currently stable. I knew how insane it sounded, but I forced myself to say it anyway. Dr. Carter frowned. Wait, you're saying she was talking? While in VTASH? Yes, ma'am, Thomas added. I saw it too. Eyes open, breathing, speaking. Monitor confirmed VTASH the whole time. One of the residents gave a skeptical laugh. Maybe artifact on your monitor. I handed over the printed strips. These aren't artifact. Look, he studied them, eyebrows raising. This doesn't make sense. The intervals are clean. Meanwhile, the patient lay motionless on the trauma bed. Her vitals on the hospital monitor were normalizing. Heart rate 104, BP 118/76, SPO 298% on non-rebreather. She looked like any other post-resuscitation patient. Get me a 12 lead, full labs, tox screen, CT head, Dr. Carter ordered. They swarmed around her. Stickers on her chest, blood draws, IVS, the works. I stood back, feeling useless, but I couldn't take my eyes off her face. Her eyelids fluttered, just for a moment, and I swear I saw the faintest smirk tug at the corner of her mouth. At 2:51, the 12 lead printed out. Dr. Carter read it twice, then once more. This can't be right, she muttered. It's showing no prior infarct, no ischemia. Her conduction looks clean. No sign of the VTACH you reported. But we shocked her 6 times, I insisted. I've never seen such persistent tachy. The machine glitched out at the end. Thomas backed me up. Monitor crashed completely. Printed a solid black strip. I've never seen that before. The room went quiet for a moment. Finally, Dr. Carter said, "All right, let's stabilize her in CCU. Toxicology will tell us more." We cleared out, rolling our gear back to the ambulance bay. Neither of us spoke as we restocked. It was nearly 4 a.m. when dispatch sent us back on the road. But I couldn't shake it. That look in her eyes. That voice. Don't go back there. 2 days later, I was back on shift. Friday night into Saturday morning. It was 1:46 a.m. when the call came. Medic 41, respond to unconscious person, 4419 Lead Avenue SE, Unit B. Caller states male, mid-30s, collapsed, shallow breathing. Different patient, different location. But from the moment we arrived, I felt the same tension in my chest. We found him on the floor of a cluttered apartment. A man in his mid-30s, pale and drenched in sweat. No trauma, no obvious overdose. His wife knelt beside him, sobbing. Please, please save him. Pulse rapid, 150. Breathing, agonal. Pupils blown. When we hooked up the monitor, my stomach turned. Wide, complex, VTACH. Exactly like her. Here we go again, Thomas muttered, his face pale. We shocked him. 200 joules, no change. Amiodarone, epi, 300 joules. Nothing. He lay there twitching, gasping, his heart rhythm refusing to budge. And then, it happened again. At 1:54, his eyes flew open. Pupils fixed, locked directly on me. His chest expanded far beyond normal limits, ribs straining. And he spoke. Same voice, but male now. Low, resonant, impossible. You weren't supposed to come back. I felt my knees weaken. Thomas swore under his breath. What do you mean? I whispered. Come back where? But the man didn't answer. His gaze slid past me, staring toward the open window. His lips moved again, shaping words that chilled me to the core. They'll see you now. A blast of static erupted from the life pack. The waveform smeared, symbols flashing that I couldn't recognize. Then the screen went black, just like before. And again, the printer spit out a strip of solid black. We rushed him to UNM, hearts pounding. And just like before, by the time we hit the trauma bay, he was stable. Sinus rhythm, vitals normal. Dr. Carter was on again that night. She looked at me with a face caught between disbelief and fear. Another one? She asked quietly. I nodded. Same presentation, same impossible rhythm, same talking. Thomas added, and the same monitor failure. Solid black strip. This time Dr. Carter didn't dismiss us. She pulled the strip, studied it, then locked it in a manila folder. Don't discuss this with anyone else, she said softly. I'll review both cases myself. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just in my head. Something was happening, and other people were starting to notice. Over the next 3 weeks, it happened twice more. Two more patients, both young adults with no prior cardiac history, collapsing into refractory VTAC, speaking words they shouldn't have been able to form, pointing at things no one else could see. Each case left us with the same impossible evidence: black strips from the life pack. The last patient, a 23-year-old woman, said something that finally broke me. As we worked her, she opened her eyes, locked onto mine, and whispered, "Ryan, stop bringing them back." She said my name. We had never met. My partner heard it too. I remember staring at her, my gloved hands frozen on the IV line, feeling my entire foundation crumble. She knew my name. By the time we rolled her into UNM, she was stable. Sinus rhythm, vitals normal, just like the rest. But I wasn't. For the first time in 15 years, I dreaded going to work. Every tone from dispatch set my teeth on edge. I started dreaming about the droning sound, waking up in sweat-soaked sheets. I checked my monitor obsessively, half expecting every patient to collapse into that impossible rhythm. And I couldn't tell anyone else. Who would believe me? That patients in ventricular tachycardia, pupils blown, no palpable pulse, were breathing, talking, and warning me not to return somewhere I couldn't even name. But the cases kept piling up, and with each one I felt my confidence erode. I wasn't just an EMT anymore. I was a witness to something no one could explain, and I knew it was only a matter of time before I broke completely. By early December, I was unraveling. I kept running calls, kept going through the motions: IVs, intubations, compressions, meds. But inside I was terrified. Not of the violence, not of the chaos, not even of the death. I was terrified of them. Whoever or whatever they were. The pattern was undeniable now. 4 patients, all young, all collapsing into refractory VTAC. All of them speaking when they shouldn't have been able to. All of them warning me, by name eventually, not to go back there. And each one leaving behind the same impossible evidence: a black ECG strip burned onto thermal paper by a machine that shouldn't be capable of producing it. I kept those strips in a drawer at home. Some nights I'd take them out and line them up on the kitchen table. Just black rectangles. No rhythm, no numbers. And yet they chilled me more than any trauma scene ever had. Thomas tried to keep me grounded. Maybe it's a glitch, he'd say, though his voice lacked conviction. Maybe the life pack got fried during those calls. Maybe, I don't know, man. But I saw the way he looked at me after the last case, the way his hands trembled as he signed the report. He believed, even if he couldn't admit it. On December 18th, I got a call from Dr. Carter. She asked me to meet her in the hospital's physician lounge. When I walked in, she was alone, a stack of manila folders on the table. "I've reviewed every one of your cases," she said, "and I've cross-referenced them with admissions data. All 4 patients survived. Their labs came back clean. No toxins, no cardiac abnormalities, no structural disease on imaging, nothing. By every metric, they're healthy young adults." I swallowed hard. "So how do you explain it?" She closed the folders. "I can't. And I won't put this in writing. But off the record, I believe you. Something happened. Something we can't explain." Her eyes locked onto mine. "Ryan, for your own sake, walk away. Don't go chasing this. Just walk away." I nodded, but the truth was, I didn't know if I could. 2 weeks later, the 5th case came. January 2nd, 2023. Call came in just after 3 a.m. Medic 41, unconscious subject, bus stop at Central in Wyoming. We found him slumped on the bench. Male, mid-20s, homeless, pale, drenched in sweat. Rhythm? You guessed it. Wide complex VTAC. As soon as we loaded him onto the cot, his eyes snapped open. But this time, he didn't look at me. He looked straight at Thomas. "You don't belong here." Thomas froze, hands gripping the cot rail. "Ryan, did you hear that?" Before I could answer, the life pack screen glitched, symbols crawling across it like static ants. The printer spat another black strip. Then the man's head tilted back, mouth opening wider than it should have, and the same droning resonance filled the rig. We both dropped what we were doing, just staring. It was like the air itself vibrated, like the bolts in the ambulance walls were rattling. Then it stopped. We arrived at UNM. The patient stabilized. Sinus rhythm, normal vitals. Same as always. But Thomas didn't speak for the rest of the shift. That was the night I knew I couldn't keep going, because it wasn't just me anymore. It wasn't just my nightmare. Thomas had heard it too, clear as day. And if I stayed, if I kept answering calls, how many more times would it happen? How long before one of them said something I couldn't ignore? I typed up my resignation that morning. 15 years on the job, gone with one email. I told my supervisor it was burnout. Easier that way. No one would believe the truth. It's been months now. I don't run calls anymore. My uniform hangs in the closet, still smelling faintly of antiseptic and diesel. But I can't shake it. I dream about it constantly. Their eyes snapping open, their chests expanding, their voices vibrating in the air. And always the words, "Don't go back there." I don't know what there is. I don't know if it's a place, a state of being, or something else entirely. But I can't stop asking myself, how many times has this happened before, without anyone noticing? How many patients in refractory rhythms were written off as lost causes, when maybe for a brief moment they were somewhere else, somewhere they weren't supposed to be? And if that's true, then what exactly are we bringing people back from? That's the question that keeps me awake at night. That's why I left. Because once you've seen what I've seen, you can't keep pretending emergency medicine is just medicine. You realize it's something darker, something deeper, and maybe we're not supposed to understand it. Maybe we're just supposed to keep the machines running, keep shocking hearts back into rhythms, keep pretending it's all science. But I can't pretend anymore. Not after they spoke to me. Not after they said my name. Not after they warned me. And so I left the job I thought I'd do until I died. Because I don't know where there is. But I know with every fiber of my being that I never want to go back.
Or you can cut it short.